I've tried it mostly. For this pass, I'm going to do another layer for the pit. And I'm going to do a couple other things as well. I'm probably going to do just a real initial thing on the label. But back to that pit, some azo yellow. And I keep starting with azo yellow because hopefully I've made it clear that this is the lighter color that I'm using for the mix. And it's really easy to bring in too much dark color too fast. I think I might drop in a touch of water actually to make that a little bit more watery. Then I'm just going to keep painting down around the pit. I am going to start mixing in some Quin burnt orange to that mix. That may have been a bit much, but nope, it's fine. It's good. Making sure there's plenty of water on the shape for the paint to move around. Not worried about making sure that the transition is exactly perfect. As I keep layering on, it'll keep adjusting it to where I want it. Let's see. I'm going to grab a touch more of even darker Quin burnt orange. When I am dipping it in like that, I am trying to point down as opposed to having my brush flat. That can work sometimes, but it can also just pick up some color as well. Same with when I'm making a thirsty brush. Just use the brush in more of a pencil kind of fashion so I can target it where I want to go. And it's still pretty watery down here, so I think I might even, that was not darker at all. I'll try to drop in a little bit of darker color. Using this brush, it's easy to bring in accidentally a little too much water, so just be careful with that, or bust out your smaller brush. Perhaps even some more darker Quin burnt orange, but I am going to a smaller brush, following my own advice. And this is a synthetic, so it holds even less water, which is what I want when I'm trying to introduce more concentrated, darker paint into a shape, but not more water. and I know it's drying up here, so I try to keep away from dropping color into where I know it's starting to get drier, because then it'll create, like over here, the back runs, blooms. That may have been a little too watery. If so, we can deal with that later. I'll deal with you later. Okay, I'm quoting Melissa McCarthy, I think, doing her impression. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, obviously not a perfectly spherical shift in color, but once again, building that up. And I think the last thing I'm going to do for this, or maybe not the last thing, I'm going to come over here on my wine label and mostly paint some water on that shape and as I of the label, and to give it the impression that it's a label and it's curving with the form of the wine bottle itself. I'm just going to start adding a little bit of darker color towards the left side to indicate that it's rounding. So this is theoretically clear water. It's not the cleanest of clear water, but that's okay. So the idea, a couple things I want to say about this. It's both doing a graded wash, and I'm going to get this this brush again, which, as you may remember, is a synthetic brush. And I'm going to try to scrub away a little bit of the color that I was not very careful about keeping a clean edge there. It's not really going away, but once again, I'm trying to not agonize too much. I'm just gonna, I grabbed a little of my dioxazine, very watery dioxazine violet purple, and I'm gonna introduce it over here so that this label is sort of like a not sort of, it's a graded wash from really watery, really just clear water to some light watery purple, and I can build up how dark I want that to get. But I want it to kind of read as a white label that you know, is not in direct light, and to kind of try to shift it back to the background somewhat. I'm going to clean that up. Since it's wet and I have some paint here, and maybe I'll put a little bit darker up towards the top there. That's good. And yeah, I think I got ahead of myself on saying the last thing. I think I was thinking about the previous video. But I'm going to do some background here, and I'm going to get one of my bigger brushes, but a bigger round moppy brush. And I'm going to mix together kind of several colors. I have some purple. I'm trying to not, mostly I'm trying to make some interesting grays. At least that's what one of my initial thoughts was. I will confess that one of my students had a little bit more sort of phthalo peacock blue in the background, and I was kind of digging that. And now I have just mostly phthalo blue in my brush, but I'm not sure if I think I want, oh yeah, I want to wet it first. So, because I still want this background to be blurry and not defined, and I want the paint to flow around and do flowy, aroundy, watercolory things. This is a funny tool, these Hake brushes. I can tell not, I feel like most of my students aren't that thrilled with it. I don't think I was at first either. Mostly I like the price. I just shifted to a non-larger brush. I did several things off camera there that you couldn't see just because I'm sneaky that way. But I really didn't sort of need that bigger brush. But I have some phthalo blue, green shade. I think technically Grumbacher doesn't even have the terms green shade included in their naming, but that's definitely what it is. In fact, it's greener than most, which is one of the reasons I like it. More cyan. So I'm going to sort of just refine that edge a little bit, move that color around. I'm also going to bring in some violet, the dioxazine purple. Oh, good grief, that was fun. I'm going to get 3,000 hits on views just from that. No, I don't know. That is fun. I'm not going to lie. But it'll probably, most of it will be kind of watering away and just don't know. But once again, that's the idea for the background, is just to have a little bit more crazy watercolor fun. And even I could squeeze some in there. Trying to be a little bit conscious of what's going on here, but I'm not. I'm having too much fun with the background, so I'm not worried about it. Kind of playing with shifting colors around, sometimes kind of watery, sometimes kind of not watery. And in fact, the background would be a good one to kind of let it dry some and then come back in with a some clear water drops and make some backgrounds. kind of like I was trying on the bread. You can see the bread, because it was so watery, everything sort of blended away, so it's a little bit even too subtle there. I'll do something about that. You can tell there I had a nice strong streak of purple paint that really wasn't mixed in that well, which will give it a really powerful sort of stripe like that. It will stain a little bit more, but I'm not, once again, it's the background. I think I will let that dry. Maybe I'll turn it right side up just so you can, both you and I can kind of see what's going on here. I'm just kind of assessing. I think that is cool. It's definitely sort of going to make a strong sort of visual element that might be a little too much, but once again, I keep saying that. Okay, I am gonna stop and dry and drop and roll or something. Okay.